So the other day, I was sitting with a friend of mine. We were chatting and catching up, and he was commenting on how much I've been traveling lately. And so I was sharing a bit of some of my experiences with him, and he was kind of surprised at some of the things that I had to share. So I have been traveling quite a bit since October. Since October, I've been to Morocco, Kenya, Tanzania, and now Ghana. And so I was sharing with him some of the experiences that I've had, not just in those places, but in other places, in other times that I have traveled. I've been a traveler for a long time. So I was intrigued at how shocked he was at some of my experiences. And he was asking me, well, what do you do when these things happen and how do you handle it? And so I thought I would share some of those things with you guys just to give you a little bit more of an eye into the realities of traveling. As a solo traveler, I travel a lot solo, but also as a female traveler, as a Black female traveler, as an American traveler. So yeah, I thought I would share some of my experiences with you. So the experience that I was sharing, which this has happened to me in a few places, the experience that I was sharing with him that kind of had him shocked was the experience of kind of being gawked at or stared at in certain places where there are not a lot of people of my complexion, I will say. And, this is something that a lot of Black travelers experience when they go to certain places. And the way I see it is, if you look at the world, if you look at many countries in the world, you'll realize that a lot of places are very homogenous. People are the same. People come from similar backgrounds, same culture or similar culture, same language, same shade, skin tone, all of those things. And so when you go to certain places, some of these people have legitimately never seen a Black person in front of their face. They've seen people on TV, they've seen Oprah, they've seen Barack Obama, they've seen, Beyonce, they've seen major Black film stars, TV stars, people like that. But a lot of people have never actually seen a Black person in person. And so because of that, there is often, and I've experienced this in a few places, and I'll tell you about those experiences, but there is often a genuine curiosity, and that is displayed through staring and gawking. And so I'll give you a few examples. I was in Egypt. This was a long time ago, and I don't know if I've ever shared this with you all, but I worked on a cruise ship for a long time, not a long time, about 9 months. I was a cruise ship performer, a singer on a cruise ship, and we were in the Mediterranean. So because of that, I've seen almost every country bordering the Mediterranean. And so we were in Alexandria, Egypt, which is a place that we went to quite a few times. So we got very comfortable there. We were in Alexandria, Egypt, and I was with some of my castmates, and I think some of the ladies had gone to the bathroom. We were at a mall, and or like a big shopping center type thing, a mall. And some of the ladies that I was with had gone to the bathroom, and I was kind of standing in the hallway just waiting for them, and I'm just standing there, And I noticed a kid runs past me, and he looks, and he kind of did a double take, and then he kind of kept on running, and I didn't think anything of it. And a few moments later, that same kid comes back with several of his friends. And they're all just walking past me, and they're just staring, like boldly, with no shame, staring. They weren't being nasty. They weren't being disrespectful. They weren't saying anything. They were just staring. And I was like, okay. So that's an experience. Another experience on the cruise ship was we were in Athens, Greece, and we were at I don't know, I think we were at the Acropolis or something. And we were all taking pictures, and there were tons of people there, tourists from all different countries and whatever, and we were all taking pictures. And so at one point, this guy runs up to me. He probably was like 16, 17 years old, runs up to me and he hands me his camera. And I'm thinking he wants me to take a picture uh, of him and, his group of friends. Instead, he and all his friends crowd around me to take a picture with me. And I was like, whoa, what's happening? And my friends are with me too. And they're looking and they're just giggling. They're cracking up because this looks crazy. I actually have a picture of this. I have to find it. I have a picture of this that my friend took from the back of all of these kids. They were white kids from some European country, crowded around me to take a picture. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. And they were jovial and nice and sweet. And I said to them, where are you guys from? And they were like, Serbia. And I'm like, okay, go Serbia. I had never been to Serbia. I've still never been to Serbia. But my friend was like, what do you think that was about? And I said, they probably never seen a black person before. And she was like, jokingly, she said, they're going to go home and show their parents the picture and be like, look, Mom, Beyonce. I thought that was hilarious. I've had a similar experience in Peru where I was hiking. I did a trek to Machu Picchu, and we were going through this, jungle area. There was a small town that we had just come from, and we were hiking through the jungle area. So it was me and my friend that I had traveled with, and then the rest of our group. And our group was very diverse. We had a couple from the UK, we had a couple from Australia, another guy, I think from the UK, and then me and my friend, we were the only Americans. And we had our guide who was a local, he was from Peru. And so we're walking through this kind of jungle area, and out of the jungle steps this guy and his son. I'm assuming it was his son. And they see our group and they look at our guide and they say something to him in their language, and the guide then says to me, they want to know if they can take a picture with you. Now, by this time, this was something that had happened to me quite a bit in my travels. I got to the point to where jokingly I would say, if I go on a trip and no one asks for a picture with me, I'm starting to think something's wrong. But they asked the guide, and the guide asked me and said, they would like to know if they can take a picture with you. And I said, sure, that's fine, I don't mind. And I took a picture with them. And the rest of my group, who didn't really know me, I mean, we knew each other because we had been on the hike together, on the trek together, but outside of this trek, we didn't know each other. And they were from the UK and Australia, and they looked at me and they were like, wait, are you famous? Who are you? And I said, no, I'm not famous. And they were like, what was that about? And I said, maybe they've never seen a black person before. And they were all like, no. Do you think that's it? I was like, yeah, I think that might be it. And I don't know if that was 100% it, but I do think that that's a possibility. And I've had similar experiences like that in the past where I turn around and I see someone taking pictures of me, or someone wanting to take pictures with me, or staring. And thankfully, those are some of the experiences that have been positive. I would call those positive experiences. I have had similar experiences that have not felt good or jovial or positive. When I was in Morocco recently, I'm the type of person who I like to go out and explore. I like to walk around the town. I want to get the lay of the land. I want to see what's out there. And so I was in Morocco, and I decided to take a walk to a store that was a little further away than the store I had typically gone to. So I went to the store, I walked to the store, and after going to the store, I was kind of walking through the neighborhood, and I kind of ended up walking down this street that was a very quiet street, and I saw a man see me. I noticed him notice me from like across the street, kind of. And so I clocked that because when you're traveling solo, you learn to recognize these things. So I saw him notice me and I clocked it. And then he got up and he started walking in the same direction that I was walking, but a little bit behind me. So I clocked that. So I'm walking, I'm making turns, I'm figuring out where I'm going. And at this point, I was a little deeper into the neighborhood and I was making my way back to the main road. And so as I'm walking, I'm being mindful that this guy is behind me. And so every once in a while, I'm peeking over, looking over my shoulder. And really the looking over my shoulder is about, or was about, me making sure I knew where he was, but also making sure that he knew that I saw him. Okay? So I'm walking, I'm making my turns, I'm making my way back to the main road. He's following me. He's at this point, it was very clear that he was following me from a distance, but he was following me. And so I keep looking back and I keep going and I keep looking back and I keep going and I keep looking back and I keep going. And turn for turn, he's following me. Like it's very clear at this point that he is following me. And so then I start to get, at this point I'm uncomfortable because I'm like, you're clearly following me. Like it could be that we're going in the same direction, but I don't know where I'm going. And this, I think, is your neighborhood. So you know where you're going. So I don't know if we're really turn for turn going to the same place. And so at one point I had to stop and turn and very clearly say to him, stop following me. And then I kept on my way, and then he made a turn. I kept going straight and he made a turn and kind of went away from me. So that's an experience that I've had. And I had another experience in Morocco where I was walking down the street, and I'm walking down the street this way, a car is coming this way, and the guy in the car literally makes a U-turn and starts driving slowly alongside me. And so I look at him and I just keep walking, and he's saying something to me. I don't even know what he was saying. And I'm like, no, just, and I'm kind of waving him off, and he just keeps driving. He's driving slowly down the street alongside me, and I'm on the sidewalk, and I keep shooing him away. And again, I get to the point where I have to say, no, leave me alone, and turn away from him and keep going straight. And so then he got the clue and, took off down the street at the speed that he should have been driving in the first place. So I've had that happen to me a couple of times. So, and unfortunately, I'll say this, unfortunately, if you've been paying attention to this type of thing in the news, you know that there is a lot of sex trafficking that happens. There have been reports of people almost being, specifically Black women, almost being abducted or actually being abducted in certain places in North Africa. There was a case late last year of two Black female friends who went on a trip. I think they were in Tunisia, and they were out, and I'm not sure of the exact story. I'm not sure what happened. You can look it up. But I think one of them ended up being drugged, like her drink was poisoned or something like that, and she was almost taken. And I don't know the full story, but I think her friend kind of intercepted the situation or whatever. But that's a reality. That is a reality, is that there has been, there are reports of a lot of sex trafficking that happens and all of that things. So all of those kinds of things. So as a Black woman, I'm on alert because I know that this is something that has been happening, and so because of that, I specifically, because of that, there are certain places I won't go out alone, specifically at night. That's a reality, just something to be aware of. And so I wasn't going out by myself at night and walking the streets. It was broad daylight. But unfortunately, those are real experiences. And so I was sharing some of these experiences with my friend, and he's like, "What? What?" He's like, "So what do you do when that happens?" And, I shared with him some of the precautions. Like, if I don't feel safe in a place or I don't feel completely secure, I'm going to make sure that I'm not going out at night by myself, that I'm not walking. Like, if I go out, I'm going to take a taxi or an Uber or something, but that I'm not like walking alone by myself at night in an unfamiliar area. But also sometimes you gotta get rude. I think sometimes as women, we have been made to feel like we should always be polite and we should always be demure and don't raise your voice. And also as an American, you don't want people to think that you're being the rude, loud American. But if you are recognizing that someone is following you, if you don't feel safe, you got to get loud and not be afraid to say loud enough for other people around to hear, "Leave me alone," or "Get away from me." Even if English is not the language that's spoken widely in that place, your demeanor, your facial expression, the volume of your voice, all of that is clearly understood. So even if you're not able to say it in the local language, you can still say it, and the person recognizes that I'm not welcome, but also this person is willing to make noise to protect themselves. And I think that is something that I would say to any traveler, but specifically female travelers. If you are traveling by yourself, you got to be willing to make noise to make sure you feel safe, to protect yourself. We can deal with embarrassment later. We can deal with whatever assumptions people are going to make about you as a woman later. Stay safe. That's the point, right? So unfortunately, these are some of the experiences that I've had, both on the good and the bad side when it comes to people staring or gawking. And, I think it's important to share those things because they're real. But I also think it's important to talk about this because I have talked to and heard from other Black travelers, African American travelers who go to places and they do have that experience of being stared at or being gawked at or whatever. And a lot of the commentary that I hear about that is, "Oh, they're just racist," or, "Oh, they're being nasty or rude or whatever." And I don't think that's always the case. Like I said, I think there are some cases where people are being rude, where people do have a thought about you and they think that they're going to engage with you in the way that they think you are going to receive them, I guess. Or they think that you're going to receive their advances in a certain way. And that is rude, and that is nasty, and that is intolerable, and that is something that you should very much defend yourself against and get loud about. But I think there are also places in the world where people have not come face to face with a Black person. And I know if you live in the States, or if you live in the UK, or if you live in a place that has racial and ethnic diversity, I've lived in New York, I've lived in LA, I'm from the US. So, and I've lived in cities that are very racially, ethnically, culturally diverse. I've lived in cities where people come from all over the world. The one thing that I say about New York all the time is I firmly believe that someone from any country in the world can come to New York City and find their people, find their community. And that's one of the beautiful things about New York, is that it is so diverse and that people from all over the world come there for a variety of reasons. And so that's the beautiful thing about living in a city like New York, is you experience seeing everybody. You see everybody, you hear all kinds of languages. You can have any kind of cuisine. You can find, whatever country that you're looking to connect with, whatever culture you're looking to connect with in New York City, you can find it. And so when you live in a place that's very diverse like that, it's kind of hard to fathom that there are people in the world who have never seen a person who looks like you. But it is the truth. Like I said, a lot of places are very homogenous. And they've seen what they've seen on TV, which is sometimes not a great thing because sometimes you're seeing, well, a lot of times you're seeing stereotypes played out on television. Um, but also, you're seeing movie stars on television. You're seeing people who are wildly famous or very wealthy on television. And so that is your only interaction with a person of a different race, a different color, a different ethnicity, whatever it is. And so I do think that is the reality for a lot of people in the world, having never seen or experienced a Black person. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing when you have the experience of admiration. And admiration sometimes can teeter on the edge of disrespect. And so you have to be mindful of that. But sometimes you're being admired. And if you come from a place where you're not used to being admired, where you're not used to having your hair admired or your skin admired, that can also feel very strange. It's foreign to you. It's not something that you've experienced a lot. So, those are some of the experiences that I've had as a Black woman solo traveler, or not even solo, because when I was working on the cruise ship, I wasn't solo, but I was standing by myself in the hallway. So those are some of the experiences that I have had, and I just wanted to share those with y'all. But also, I've had some great experiences, and I think as a solo traveler, one of the reasons I love traveling solo is because you learn so much about yourself. You learn to depend, to really rely on yourself. You learn to really trust yourself, to trust your gut, to not question your gut, to trust your instincts. And whenever I'm talking to someone who is nervous about taking a trip solo, has never done it before, they're thinking about doing it, and they're asking me, how do I do it? One of the things that I say is trust your gut. If you feel a certain way, if something doesn't feel right, there's no issue with you putting yourself in a situation where you feel safe. If you don't feel safe, we can question it later. We can sit with ourselves later and ask ourselves, okay, what was going on in that moment that made me feel unsafe or uncomfortable? Why did I feel the need to get out of there so quickly? Why did I feel this feeling in the pit of my stomach? Why did I feel why did I feel that way? And you can ask yourself those questions later. But when you are in the moment and you are feeling uncomfortable, trust your instincts. Trust your gut 100%. That's the first thing I would say to any solo traveler, but specifically to any woman who wants to take a trip solo. Trust your gut 100%. Because your body, your mind, your nervous system is designed to scope the atmosphere for safety outside of your knowledge. It's not like you are telling yourself, let's make sure we're safe. Your body, your brain, your nervous system is scanning the area all the time to make sure that you are safe and to alarm you if something seems unsafe. And so if you ever feel the feeling that I don't know if I'm safe here, or I don't feel comfortable here, or whatever it is, trust that feeling, get to safety. We can question it and think about it later. But also I would say make sure people know where you are. There's a select group of people, my family included, who have my location shared. These days you have apps, you can share your location. If you have an iPhone, you can share your location with other people who have iPhones. If you're on Instagram, you can share your location with a select group of people on Instagram with your close friends, if you want to do that. But I would say give your itinerary to people, make sure they know your flights, make sure they have the ability to see where you are. And if you're changing locations, let them know, hey, I'm taking a road trip to here, or I'm flying to this place, or there was a change of plans and I decided to go to this place. Like, make sure people know where you are. Make sure people have copies of your itinerary. Make sure people know when you've made changes in your itinerary. Make sure people have a copy of your passport, your visas if you have them. Like, all of those things are important to do when you're traveling, specifically if you're traveling solo. And if you have friends on the ground in the place where you are, local friends, also make sure they know where you are, because they can get to you sooner than your family on the other side of the world can get to you, So those are just a few precautions that I like to take. But I think that the main thing is to trust your gut, to have fun. Don't assume the worst. I think sometimes we can make assumptions about a thing because something is happening in a way that it wouldn't happen in our home country, and it's not necessarily something to be offended by. It's just a cultural difference, and so we want to fight immediately. And sometimes you can take a step back and say, okay, wait a minute, am I being blatantly disrespected, or is this just a cultural difference? And of course you can say to someone, hey, I prefer you not do that. I've said that plenty of times. There are places in the world where, well, I won't say that, but sometimes people want to grab you or touch you. I've had people touch my hair, or, and you have to let them know, no, that is not welcome. Do not do that, And so, again, if you feel unsafe, let it be known. If something is happening around you and it doesn't sit well with you, something is being said to you, a person is interacting with you in a certain way, if a person is touching you in a certain way and you don't like it, make it known. Make it known. And you can be open to learning that maybe this is a cultural difference and I still don't like it. You can learn the nuances between someone is blatantly disrespecting me, or this is just a cultural difference that I'm not aware of. But in all situations, you have the right to be respected. You have the right to feel safe and to be safe. And so that's always the number one thing, is make sure that you are paying attention to your gut and getting to safety. And we can ask questions later. We can ask questions when we're safe, when we feel safe. So yeah, those are some of the experiences I've had as a traveler, as a solo woman, Black American traveler. Some great, some not so great. But again, like I said, solo travel gives you an opportunity to learn how to trust yourself, to pay attention to your instincts, to follow your guts. And that is invaluable. That is invaluable, because that's something that you're going to take with you back home, and it makes you stand a little bit taller. It makes your back a little bit straighter. It makes you hold your head up a little bit higher, because you know that you can handle hard things. You know that you can trust yourself. You know that you're going to pay attention to your gut. And that translates into how you handle all kinds of situations, whether you're abroad or at home. So if you're questioning whether or not you should take a solo trip, take the trip. Be wise, share your location, share your itinerary, follow your gut, and have fun. And that's what I say. And if you see a Black person, say hello. Oh my gosh. If y'all don't know me by now, my name is Tryphena Wade. I am an actor, Broadway, TV, and film. I am a certified master life coach, specializing in fearless living. And that solo travel will get you'll be confronting some fear for sure. And I'm also a globetrotter, and I'm currently in Ghana. And I'll talk to y'all later.